Again, good evening, everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started with this evening's forum and presentation. First, I'd like to thank everybody for coming this evening. We have an agenda of items that we're going to discuss, but before we get started, this is National Victims Week. And I'd like to take a moment of silence for the individuals who have become victims and lost their lives within the city of Portsmouth. And if I could just get a moment of silence, I would appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. All right. This evening, we're going to go over the first quarter numbers for 2024, and that time frame will be from January 1st, 2024 until March 31st of 2024. We'll also give year-to-date numbers where we are as where we stand. We will have some dialogue about our homicide investigations that we have ongoing for the current year. I'll provide some information as to our staffing along with our current recruiting. We'll give an update on Portsmouth United. I know it's been some time since we've discussed that. We'll also talk about our community engagement efforts, and then we'll end with an opportunity for question and answer, okay? All right. So we look at our numbers, again, January 1st to March 31st, year to date, as we compare those numbers to last year, this time, what you will notice is we have a 30% reduction in our violent crime. And again, this was until March 31st. You'll notice, obviously, at that time, we had 12 homicides compared to where we were the year prior, which was 18, which represented for us at that time a 33% reduction. Of note, you'll also see during that time frame, one of the major drivers for us in our numbers were our aggravated assaults, which were domestic related. And again, to define an aggravated assault for you, that's any time where there is a breakage of skin. It could be a fist, it could be a knife, and yes, it could be a firearm. But anytime a broken bone, anything of that nature that's domestic related, and it could be boyfriend on girlfriend, it could be father on son, mother on daughter, or it could be anyone that is living in the house at that time and obtains a domestic status would qualify based on an assault. And so that represented for us a 33% increase in numbers over that time. In addition to that, you'll also see that we had a significant increase into our shooting into occupied dwellings. Again, it's listed as a aggravated assault. Does not necessarily mean that anyone was hit. Could be a bullet. Again, at this time frame, you have to remember we were just coming out of New Year. A lot of people like to fire guns into the air, bullets coming through ceilings, through windows. But also, we have to be honest about our conversation. We're talking about the random gunfire that unintentionally hits a person's house. I know a lot of you have seen some of the videos that are circulating throughout our community with our young folks carrying firearms. I've seen many of them. I get at least 4 or 5 of them daily, which we are actively investigating. And I highlight that because we have a tremendous amount of firearms on our streets. And so these numbers are not shocking to us, but I also have to highlight that we are, at this point in time, experiencing a reduction in our most violent crimes, and that's actually something to be celebrated. You know, oftentimes, unfortunately, things associated with our city are always painted in a negative light. We don't get an opportunity to paint the good things that we are doing And a lot of that is on you to be celebrated, because you truly have been answering the call to partner with us, partner with the police department to show up on these scenes, things of that nature, to assist us. And I have to thank the community, but I also have to remind them this is a continuous effort. We cannot stop. We need you now more than we ever for us to tackle our issues. So I'll continue to move on. When we talk about property crime, you'll notice we had a 20% reduction in our property crime. Again, some of our numbers to note, one thing in particular, the highest number, which is our burglary to storage facility. And again, that's we call that an outlier because it could be one particular, when we researched this was one particular incident where we had several sheds that were broken into at one time. They get classified as an incident versus a individual, but it still heavily skews our numbers when because you're looking at a 600% increase. Additionally, residential burglaries and commercial burglaries continue to be a challenge for us, where you'll see a 27% increase in our burglaries throughout the city. And of course, the biggest one that we continue to grapple with is our stolen vehicles. And we've rolled out a number of initiatives offering wheel locks, and they're still available if you need a wheel lock for your car, if you're interested in one. And at this point, whether or not it's a Hyundai or a Kia, it matters not to me. If you want a wheel lock for your car, please come and get it. We have them, and that we're more than willing to give them to you to help with deterring some of this. But we also need individuals not to leave key fobs in the car, not to leave your cars running when you're running into the store, not to, of course, we're getting a little warmer now, so the going out and warming your car up and leaving it running, those are opportunities where folks traditionally take advantage and steal your car. So again, we hope to see those numbers go down. But again, I have to remind everyone that this continues to be a problem for us. Now, if our numbers overall for the first quarter combined for our UCR reports, and these are the numbers that we report to the state and to the FBI, we would, if our time ended today, based on the first quarter, we would have a 22% reduction in crime for the year. Again, good numbers from where we were this time last year, and something for us as a city, and definitely for us as a police department to be excited about as we continue to move forward with making transitions to our city. Now, year-to-date numbers, because obviously we had a number of homicides that took place. This is when the wheels fell off. We went from a level of peace, and we experienced, as of right now, 5 homicides within the last month from the beginning of April. We went from 12 to 18, and obviously, but at the time we ran that particular report. But at this time, we still would receive, if we ended today, we would have a 25% reduction overall of our numbers that we report. Again, something to be celebrated. However, let me remind you, every life that's lost within this city is a precious life. It's one life too many. And while we tout victories for one less person, that's still 18 more people whose lives were cut short senselessly, for many of them, as we'll discuss later on, for basic conflict resolution, that we are somehow, the gun now has become commonplace rather than verbal skills to be able to de-escalate situations. And so I continue to call upon, my mentors, my parents, my clergy, anybody who cares about anything that happens in this city to get involved, especially in our young boys' lives, and start to interdict in some of these things before they become situations like this. And let's be honest, many of folks in the community know what's going on well before it gets to the police. By the time it gets to us, it's too late. We are the end of what you see when crime happens. When you see people in your neighborhood that appear to be checking car doors and you don't call, and then you wake up the next morning and all your neighbors have been vandalized or their property stolen. Think about the opportunities you may or may not have had to be able to stop that by simply picking up the telephone. You have to remain engaged. You have to remain vigilant. When the police department leaves, after the yellow tape is down, the community is left with having to pick up the pieces and having to restore things to where they are. And again, you play a vital part in helping us transition this city in a positive way. Now, we'll talk about our homicides that we have up year to date as of right now. Again, we have 18 individuals who have lost their lives in the city. The green obviously represents homicides where we have made an arrest of individuals, and there are a number of those on the screen. The yellow represents cases where we have warrants on file, meaning we have a suspect or known offender, and one of note is the one that occurred on Airline. We're pretty confident that that's going to go green here very soon. And obviously the red are the individual ones that we're still working through, but we're desperately seeking leads and information from the community. If we say it all the time, if you see something, say something. I'm past that. If you know something, tell something. If you see something, do something. Anything that we can do, we have to dwindle this number down. It hasn't gotten hot yet. If we don't wrap our arms around this right now, we need to get engaged. We need to start pushing this information as much as possible so that folks understand what's going on. Just to go over a couple of these and to tell you exactly, again, our first homicide of the year started at a fight where two individuals lost their lives. The next two we have is unknown motives. The one from Prospect Parkway was an individual who was found in a vacant home. The fourth one, again, started at a bar on Town Point Road. Individuals waited and ended up getting a shooting on the interstate. The next two, we characterize as an unattended target. People shooting indiscriminately and hitting someone and causing loss of life. The next one was one that was heavily covered, was a premeditated issue where we had a domestic situation where individual lay in wait for a person to get off work and took their life. The next two that we look at, we are very confident they are gang-related situations, gang or group, and I'm careful about labeling individuals. However, we do know that there were involvement within information being passed back and forth that led to this dispute. The next one started at one of our nip joints in Prentice Park. If you don't know what a nip joint is, a shot house, place where you go and buy drinks illegally. Again, the community knew this was going on well before we got to this point. If we have a nip joint, shot house, whatever you want to call it in your community, we need to know about it. Because I can tell you during my time being in this city, which is now over 20 years, most of these places always end up with one of these. It's a reason we stopped serving alcohol after 2 o'clock. So if you know of one of these, please contact the police department. Please contact code inspection. There's many ways for us to attack this problem, but we need to know about it first. The next one was an attempted robbery where Unfortunately, the community decided to get involved, but get involved in the wrong manner, in which they, for some reason, decided to say that the police department and the officers who responded were somehow responsible for that young man's life that was lost. If you remember, we quickly put a kibosh on that rumor because it's important for folks to understand the transparent part. If there was something that we had done, I would be the first person to tell you we were responsible and we were going to be investigating it, and we would call in the appropriate folks to ensure transparency on our part. Now, that didn't happen. And so I thought it was important not only for the community to know, but more important for my officers to know that we support them and what we do, and that when we're right, we're going to stand up and support them and say that we're right. And so since that, we've had no additional information from or quarrels from the community, and obviously we made an arrest in that case as well. The next one was actually profiled last night during our council meeting. This young lady left her mother's house, going, I believe, to let her animal out, turned the corner, and it appears she was shot randomly, and the individuals drove off. Case of possibly mistaken identity. We're still working leads on that. Again, I'm appealing to the community. If you know anything about it, please reach out to us. Please reach out to the investigator. You can remain anonymous. You can email it. You can write it in a letter and mail it. However you choose to get it to us, we just need the information. The next two, again, the one on airline, we know it to be an ambush. There's good information on that, and we're confident we're going to close that. The next one, again, basic conflict resolution. Started out as a fight. One individual ended up getting the better of the next one, and next thing you know, a gun comes out. The last two, again, disputes. Known individuals to each other, and again, people lose their life. I only point this out to you because I'm not going to tell you we don't have group and gang issues, because we do. The last person is going to tell you that. But I also need you to know that every single person that loses their life in this city is not necessarily related to gang activity. I need you to understand that. I also need you to understand that when we know about something, we do everything we can do to stop it. Situations like this are done random, and of course, nobody's going to shoot somebody when a police officer is in the area. Now, I can't tell you we've never been around and gunshots have been fired, because that's happened quite a bit. But the likelihood of it happening are very slim. So again, please understand that these are crimes of opportunity. I put this slide up because one of the things that we've been doing reset walks for years. And an individual, we monitor social media just like everybody else. And, individual said today that the police department is getting a lot of exercise. And you're right, we are. It's unfortunate. But also, what is a reset walk? And again, our reset walks are our response to trauma within the community. It's our opportunity to come out and reassure our citizens that we as a police department and we as a city are there for them and offer them resources, whether it be trauma counseling, whether it be services, whether it's just to say, hey, I'm glad you're out here. I need to let you know that my street light is out, or there's a pothole that's there. It's an opportunity for us to re-engage with our community and bring a sense of calm after such a traumatic experience. But I will tell you, after doing this for years, I'll tell you one of the biggest components that is missing. Every time we go out there, there's police, there's fire, we have chaplains out, but where's the community? We need you to come out, because this is where you live. If you're not concerned, if you're not going to get involved, then you cannot be angry with your officers who are doing every single thing that they can to safeguard. We need you to come out and partner with us. We need you to come out and walk with us in solidarity to say enough is enough in your community. It sends a much bigger message than us by ourselves. And so again, I'm going to ask again, I'm going to continue to ask, community, we need you. So some of the good things that are happening, you know, we've talked about our staffing levels for last couple of years. Of course, this is a national situation. Nobody really is jumping to be the police at this point. However, we are seeing some changes, and I've made no mistakes about it, that Portsmouth Police Department is on its way and will be the best police department in the state of Virginia, hands down. And they made no, I don't want anybody to mistake that. My officers understand that, and if you don't believe it, it's time for you to start believing it. One of the biggest things that I'm hoping is that we will stop allowing folks to talk about our city. If you pay attention to much of what is said about us on social media, many of these people do not live in Portsmouth. Understand that. And so if we continue to allow people to paint our narrative, we're never going to get any better. Did y'all take notice that the water tower is almost done? They're still showing the old one though, right? Again, it's the little things like that that matters most. And I put this up here so you can see, yeah, we're still down in staffing, but my folks continue every day to show up, and they're doing some amazing things. Every weekend I do a recap of the things that we do just to say thank you and let them know that I see what they do. And some of the things that you'll see, these officers and our professional support staff who support our operations, and a quick shout out to them because today is Admin Coordinators Day, Professional Admins Coordinators Day, and for anybody else in here that may be one celebratory to you as well. But our numbers are increasing. You know, about 4 or 5 months ago, we were 90 or so more. Now those are slowly dwindling down. We have 18 currently in the police academy that is scheduled to graduate in June. We have 6 right now that will go into the pre-academy or go into the academy in July. And then we have 18 right now that are in various stages of background with our department. The prayer is that we can get all 18 and send 24 individuals to the police academy. We're also starting to get some lateral transfers from other cities that are now starting to look at Portsmouth as an option. We don't want to continue to say that we can't do because of our economic challenges. We're well aware of that. But I'm also telling you that to be the best, we have to act like we're the best. I'm tired of hearing about other cities and what they can do. I know hands down I got the best department and the best officers in this state, and they prove it every single day. There are not many people that can come and work in this city. Understand that. Now, Portsmouth United. We talked about this. Portsmouth United is our community violence intervention strategy that we are implementing. Heavily working with our partners, not only within the city, but also our nonprofits, our school system. We're bringing all of these things together to, again, address gun violence. What we've been doing is, and I know we've kind of gone silent on it, obviously we had some changes, but one of the things that we have been doing as we waited for Mr. Carter to come on board is we've now implemented and have advertised for a coordinator for this. Remember when we first rolled this out, I told you this was not a police-led initiative. In order for this to be successful, this has to be a community-led initiative. And so we are hiring a coordinator on grant funding for at least the next 3 years to coordinate all of these resources together. in addition to 4 additional violence interrupters to assist with going in and mediating these disputes. Now, obviously, they're going to be tasked with partnering with us. We're going to do our weekly meetings, but we need to get these pieces in place because, again, our hope as a police department is that we're going to do what our job is, and that's to be the police, all right? And allow the citizens, our counterparts within the city departments to assist us in public safety. Public safety is everybody's responsibility, okay? And that, for anybody interested, that position closes on the 25th, which is tomorrow. Which is tomorrow. So if you're interested and you know somebody, it's on the city's website, please encourage them to apply. And y'all know me, if you're not about the work, don't waste our time, please. Unless you're gonna come in with the intention to make this place better, don't come in just for a check. We don't have time for it. We know it's grant money that's associated with it. The last time I talked about Portsmouth United, it was standing room only. Man, I'm glad. But when the applications come out for the funding for these programs, which will hopefully be by the 1st, and things of that nature, we want people to have solid initiatives that really have some stakes in making this city better. We want some evidence-based where we can say, how many children did you help? How many, I don't say, no more cookouts and book bag giveaways. We got enough of them. All right, and I hope if you're upset with me, I'm probably talking to you. It's just what it is, all right? But if you're interested in a position and serious about doing work, please apply. All right, so 2 good things that are happening. I'm gonna start with this one first. So as I told you, every week we put out information about what we did the prior week. This one where the 2 officers are standing is something notable. And again, this is nothing new, but this is something that you should hear about. I want you to pay attention to what you see on the table. You see a lot of narcotics on the table. These are things that you would see in some of our pop-up shops. But you also see a number of firearms, all right? You see an assault-style rifle, and you also see several handguns. Let me paint the narrative for you. Citizen calls and says, hey, this is a suspicious situation. We got somebody passed out in the vehicle. That happens quite a bit, especially now with people using narcotics, overdosing, things of that nature. So my 2 officers go out and respond. When they get there, they see through the window the individual with that AR-style rifle on the seat. The officer is able to reach in and take the rifle out without waking that individual up. Once they get him out, then they proceed to try to wake him. What they didn't know is he had 2 additional firearms on his person at that point. When they get him out of the car, they get into a struggle with him. And of course, he knows he has the weapons, they don't. As they take him to the ground and finally able just to hold him until additional resources get there, and then they're able to put him in custody. And of course, now we know why he was fighting, because he had a huge amount of money and a huge amount of illegal narcotics in his car, not to mention all these illegal firearms. Oh, I forgot to tell you, the car was stolen too. Okay? This is the challenges that we have right now in this city. And I need you to understand, when things like this happen, if you have not seen some of these videos that are going on, where we have a lot of our young people with these assault rifles that are more equipped than my officers, but yet my folks still go out there every single day and strap it up and show up. My concern is that one of these kids is going to put one of my officers in a situation where they're going to have to react based on their training and take one of their lives, or their life be taken. And how does the community respond with us doing our job. You see the firepower out there. If you haven't seen it, I'll be glad to show it to you. We need to make sure that you're educated. Again, this is not a preamble to saying, hey, something's going to happen, and Lord forbid, I pray it doesn't. But we need folks to understand that there is a lot of risk that goes to wearing this uniform. And the support from the community is more important than anything, because we need you in order to do our job. The people are the police, and the police are the people. It has not changed since Robert Peel in the 1800s. The second part is personal accomplishment, but some other additional stuff that we have going on. So you might have heard or seen that I've been missing for about a week each month. So I've been attending the University of Chicago's crime lab. They have the University of Chicago has basically made a whole wing of nothing but dedication to investigating crime. Everything about it, from the best practice of running dispatch to the best practice of responding to crime, you name it. And there are 35, this is the second cohort. The first one was the inaugural one, and there are actually two cohorts. There's a CBI, which is part of what we would call as Portsmouth United, and then there's the leadership side for policing. And their job is they're trying to train and re-educate police in the best practices of modern day policing. And some of the stuff that we've heard, some of the training that we've got, that I've gotten over the last, you would be amazed at the information that's out there that most police chiefs don't know about. Folks I got a person in class from Ireland, one from Scotland. We are by far the smallest locality that's there. LAPD, Chicago, Baltimore, and little old Portsmouth. No. And here's what's most important about this. This was all free. They pay for me to go out there. They pay for housing, lodges. There's a billionaire that's responsible. That's his philanthropy. But not just that, they're also paying for a second individual to go into the next cohort. So again, these are things that the bigger cities have been getting for years. And now Portsmouth is now getting these opportunities to improve and become a better police officer, not a police department. And like I told you, if you don't believe it, mark my words, this will be the best police department in the state. This time next year, we'll be leading up to accreditation, something that's never happened since I've been here. We will be accredited police department, something to be celebrated. So we're doing some good things. We got a lot to hang our hat on. I want to highlight my Citizens Academy that's going on, and they graduate next year. If you've never, next week. And if you've never been to a Citizens Academy, I encourage you to attend. What it does is it gives you an opportunity to see your police department internally. There are no secrets about what we do. We show it every day, and it's on reruns at this point. Law and Order, NYPD Blue, you name it. It's no secrets. You know, obviously there's some sensitive things that from time to time that we don't necessarily want to put out for integrity of investigation, but we need you to see what we do. Because once you understand what we do, it validates us further in your eyes. You know, when George Floyd was murdered, one of the first things that came out was we need to outlaw chokeholds. Portsmouth Police Department outlawed chokeholds 20 years ago. Most police departments outlawed chokeholds a number of years ago. But if you're not careful and understand the narrative, then you get sucked up into misinformation. And so part of coming to the Citizens Academy and seeing what your police department does, you understand that right now we're the only police department in Hampton Roads that I'm aware of that has invested in virtual reality technology, that we can train our officers in de-escalation techniques. That's an advancement that we are moving on and this is these are things that we are doing right now because we want to be the best. And we need you to be able to put you through some of these scenarios. My vision is we put you in some shoot, don't shoot scenarios and see how you would react. Because you all are potential jurors. It's easy to say what you would do when you don't know. All right? So it's important. Please come out. You will find out a lot about what we do. You will actually enjoy yourself. Okay? What you see here is our stables, forensics, where they actually did a mock forensic scene. Our SWAT guys actually pulled out some of their toys. You know, they got plenty of toys. And also, they got an opportunity to sit into one of our armored SWAT vehicles. And again, as a citizen, that's something that you need to get an opportunity to see. Some of our community engagement that we did during this quarter, obviously we participated in the coldest walk that took place on February 24th. It was cold and rainy like it was the year prior, but there was good participation from not only the citizens, but the police department, and we were honored to be a part of that. Other community engagement that we did, my guys and girls from 2nd Platoon participated in the farmers market. Farmers market, if you haven't been, they do it every Saturday. It is the representation of what Portsmouth can be. Nobody's down, you don't have a huge police presence down there. You got volunteers down there policing themselves, escorting people, showing people around, being ambassadors for the city. And it's a really good time, and I encourage you to go, but my officers were out there supporting that. In addition to it, my criminal enhancement unit, community enhancement unit, visited IC Norcom for a career day. Obviously, we're trying to get more folks to come to our profession. And so, I should have said this first. We are hiring for anybody that's looking for a job. I want to make sure that you understand that. And I say that because some of you might feel like you might be too old. You may be, okay? But you may have a son or daughter that's looking for a career change. You may know somebody that's looking to move. And we are very competitive at this point in time with our salaries. So, but I'm going to say this, if they lazy, I don't want them. I need some committed folks who are about coming in and working and doing some things. So, but if they're looking for a job, they're looking for a change, they're tired of where they are, you know, every day here is something different. And so I encourage them to apply. Lieutenant Blystone made a special stop by Parkview Elementary and did some reading with some of the first grade folks, and I thank him for that. And also we had Portsmouth Behavioral Healthcare led a seminar for us that talked about trauma and developing. And we're doing a lot of things utilizing in this room for different events that other departments are able. Again, this is not Portsmouth Police Departments only. All right, if we have something that's meaningful, no political campaigns, okay? But if you have something meaningful that's part of the community that enhances, get with us. We're more than happy to open the door and participate and partner with you. But again, it needs to be something that's going to add some meaningful event to the community. If you have a mentorship program and you need a place to hold a meeting, we'll talk. We can talk about it. But again, we need valuable things that's going to bring enhancement to the city. So I've talked for about 40 minutes, and this is the question and answer period for you all. Ms. Washington has some mics, and she'll bring them around to you. And if you have any questions, please ask. I'll do my best to answer them. If I don't have the answer, I will get it to you.
So just to start off, I want to say that just thank the chief for addressing us this evening. But we're going to do this question and answer session in about 20 minutes. Then the chief will be answering questions. I'm asking that everyone would keep their questions, their time down to 2 minutes maximum, so we can make sure that we're respecting everybody's time this evening. in that 2-minute maximum. So if you can do it faster, please do it faster.
Can we make it 1 minute? Because that's a long question.
1 minute. 1 minute.
One of the things that I think would enhance the walks is if we could do them at an hour that some of us working people could come. I know a couple of them were at 3 p.m. We'd love to see them at a later hour, say 6 p.m., and get some more of us to participate. Also, the incident you cited on Airline Boulevard at the shopping center. Yes. One of the things that was amazing that happened was that one of the tenants there made an appeal to the community, and a whole bunch of people in that neighborhood got on the phone, called the landlord and said, "What the heck are you doing?" Yes. And the tenant that was the problem got kicked out.
Yeah,
And it was an amazing community response that I wanted to recognize from that area of the city. What I'd love to see is if we could do the same thing to recognize that the landlords need to be responsible. And what I'd like to know from them is, can we have it happen in Craddock too? Some of the shopping centers over there where they're having the kids rallies in there. What they need to know is what the tenants can do when they are having a problem in the area. They call the police, but they don't know how to respond after that. They don't know how they can activate their landlord because they're ticked off at you when they should be ticked off at the landlord for not providing security in a safe business environment. So one of the things that the tenants need to know is, instead of calling you, what else can they do to activate in the community?
Thank you, sir. So before I get to that, I will touch base on the airline situation. So I did have dialogue with that landlord. I did see the information that was posted on social media, the first one and the second one. And I can tell you that that landlord is engaged. He's putting up cameras to that shopping center. He's putting those cameras on our network, and they'll be a part of our real-time crime center. So he is making investments to help safeguard that property. But again, the community stepping up and voicing their concern to him directly is what put that pressure on him to do what he needed to do. So understand that when you're talking about nuisance properties or facilities like that, one of the biggest issue is they don't always rise to a criminal matter. And so sometimes our hands are tied as to what we can or cannot do. But there are so many other components that are part of running a business in this city. Are you properly licensed? Remember, there was a time that we were having a lot of little pop-up shops that were coming in under one thing and there wasn't license for that. And we were addressing that. The second part of that is, are they zoned properly? Are they up to code so far as fire marshal is concerned? So one of the things that we do have, and we put it together several months ago, was a code enforcement team. And so what we try to do is go out to address these businesses holistically. And again, everybody comes at it and approaches it from their expertise. If you are the fire marshal, you need to be looking at fire code. If you are the treasurer, are they up? And everybody has their part to play in that. Remember, they didn't get Al Capone on murder, okay? They got him on something else, all right? So everybody has a part to play in that particular thought process. And the other part is for us to activate the city attorney when possible to get them engaged in the abatement process if they are a nuisance. This is why it's important to call, because now we create a trail for this place has been, and one thing I will say, please just don't call just to call. Okay, again, when we're talking about resources, you know, it takes away every time a person calls just because the music's loud. And again, we still want to document it, but understand there may be a more pressing issue and my officer might not be able to get there as fast as you would like. They're coming, but you've documented the call. And every time that documentation, when we get to a process where now we have the city attorney involved, and or if it's an ABC establishment, now we have the opportunity to pull all of those records and say, hey, the police department was called to this particular location 20 times in the past 6 months. We've had X amount of issues, and now those things start to affect their licensure and how they operate within the city. And I'm sure we'll have some additional dialogue with the new manager on the way he wants things done as we work to try to address some of these things.
Yes.
I have two quick questions. One is, when you were talking about these pop-up shops, I know that there was one parking lot that I went to just to go to the grocery store. There are people outside the stores selling on the sidewalk. It feels kind of, makes me nervous walking through them to get into the place that I'm trying to go. Are these, is this how we do business in Portsmouth? Are they allowed to do this, to set up on, outside another store on a sidewalk? And
So so part of that conversation is it on private property or is it on city property? So if it's on private property and they get permission from that individual to sell, then it's not a police matter.
is a sidewalk ever private property?
No, so a sidewalk is not. Sidewalk is a right of way owned by the city.
Okay.
And so,
If we see something like that. we just-
absolutely.
The other thing is, do you all look at, I'm sure you do look at social media. I myself don't look at much, so I'm an ignorant person. But I did notice recently, I think it was on Network, that somebody had like the whole contents of a store that they were selling privately on their lawn or letting people know they were going to sell it on the weekend. And I mean, it was everything from water detergent to, it looked like somebody, I didn't know what. Do you all?
I can tell you what it is.
Well, I had an idea what it was.
So in case y'all didn't know, when's the last time you've been in Walmart? They got everything locked up. Our Walmart had a $4.3 million shrink.
They had what?
$4.3 million loss. They call it shrink in that world. This was the same reason why, if you remember my plea for the ABC establishment, is to help assist us, and many of them, all of ours soon will be counter stores. It's unfortunate, but you know what? When you're the only monopoly in town, if you want spirits, you'll go whatever time they tell you to come and get it. But we have an issue with people stealing. Part of that is the change in legislation. The mere fact that a petty larceny now is $1,500, $1,200, something of that nature, where it used to be $250. And then on top of that, there has to be the follow-up and prosecution and conviction and everything else. And again, that's a larger conversation. But you get to a point where sometimes it happens so frequently that the store owners don't call. And so when you talk about monitoring social media, I can tell you about an investigation that we had not too long ago where we had one of the pawn shops that was basically selling stolen items on eBay. Even when we contacted a lot of the major stores, Lowe's, Walmart, you would be amazed that they can't discern what is theirs based off of barcodes. They can't. And so it's hard to prove once it exits the store where it belongs. And so that is a part of the issue when it comes to dealing with them. We know that there are several throughout. We've actually made some arrests with folks stealing stuff that were taking it to, little Walmart. There is a little Walmart in the city.
I'm going to give it to this gentleman with the orange. And just before you start, sir, if we can raise our hand when we have a question so I can make it over to you with the microphone, I greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Chief, a couple comments before my question. First of all, on behalf of the volunteers at Safety Town and the 4,000 kids, thank you very much for the visibility that you're giving us there at Safety Town. That's where it starts with the kids in this in the city. Secondly, whatever initiative you made, I'm a member of about 6 or 7 civic leagues. Not only are you having your CED folks come out, but you've got the shift folks coming out too. It is great to see your staff, your team, your LTs, your sergeants out there, so we actually see the faces of who's patrolling our neighborhoods. We didn't have a lot of that before, so thank you very much for that. The question I have, we met here about 4 or 5 months ago about businesses and shoplifting. I noticed your numbers, and it's a success story you haven't said. You had a 60% drop in shoplifting. What do you attribute that to? What are y'all doing? What are the business people doing that we continue to do to knock down the shoplifting here in this town?
So, obviously we can't take all the credit for it. I do have some, I was just commenting on some of my officers the other day about how active they were on the radio, and it was just good to hear. You know, if you're the police and you like being the police, you like to hear stuff like that. I'm sorry, it doesn't mean I just want to, but that's just what it is. And so I was just commenting on how active they were, but we can't take credit for all of it. We will take credit for, we've made some arrests, but we also have had some businesses take some initiatives on their part. And again, Walmart taking the opportunity to lock up some of their items that they know frequently walk out of the door, or making them harder for people to take them. The mere fact that that ABC store on London Boulevard was the highest theft volume in the state. You know, nothing to brag about. Hampton Roads as a whole had more larcenies from ABC stores than the rest of the state combined. Hampton Roads, the 7 cities. So it's definitely a regional problem. But now, of course, now that our ABC partners are taking the initiative to lock up some of their things, and these things are now starting not to be as major of an occurrence, our numbers are going to go down, and they're going to go to other cities, and you know. But we're also, again, partnerships with the community. The community is really, I cannot rave enough about how much the folks are stepping up. This room right now is representative of that. It's been times we come in here and I know who's coming. You're coming, Miss Anderson is coming, you're coming. I can tell you who's coming. So the mere fact that we got more people who are showing up, who are taking notice about what's going on in the community, and now are passing this information off, that is meaning that our message is getting out and folks are getting more engaged. So I attribute it a lot to that as well. Oh, and one other thing while we talk about Civic League. So I always believe that we are doing community policing wrong. Community policing is an entire police department mechanism, and it should not be relegated to one group. And so we've taken the philosophy that community policing is everyone's responsibility. So I've been encouraging my patrol officers to show up to Civic League meetings, to get engaged, to make sure that they show. One other thing that I'm gonna, my Civic League presidents will see here, hopefully before the end of the week, I'm gonna start a monthly virtual meeting with the Civic League presidents, all right? Just so we can stay engaged, we'll figure out what's the best time to do that. We're gonna do it virtually. And again, it's 2 presidents. Hopefully we can get an agenda, just discuss. I need to hear from you, you hear from me, and you know, we go from there. But we're gonna do that once a month. I've had Ms. Jenkins compile all of our Civic League email addresses, and so that email hopefully will come out, if not today, by Friday.
Okay.
The question is, you have Portsmouth United?
Yes.
Well, they created the Gun Violence Prevention Commission. Is there any way to work together on that?
So all things must work together. Understand that the Crime Commission is a city council led, that was driven initiative, and that they are tasked with bringing to council best practices, ideas, technology, all of that. And so they're going to have to talk to me. They're going to have to talk to Portsmouth United. Many of the folks that are on that board hopefully will be in Portsmouth United. We cannot continue to operate in silos, okay? We have to dialogue with each other in order to understand what's happening in Old Town, what's happening in Prentice Park. And then the communities are going to have to spend time in each other's places. You know, somebody's going to have to go from another neighborhood to help get that neighborhood up. And once that neighborhood now has better resources, now that strengthens your neighborhood because you don't have that overlap. So we can't, you know, I'm optimistic that in Mr. Cullen's, I think they mentioned your name yesterday. So I'm optimistic. The ones that I heard are interested. I hope they understand that crime is a complex problem. You know, a lot of people, I had a lady come in a couple of weeks ago, and she was like, "I got the answer to crime." I was like, "Where the hell you been?" I mean, you could have been a trillionaire, and I mean, it's. But again, it's a complex problem. Next person.
Hello, thank you, Chief, for giving this update. So my question kind of piggybacks off of what you just said. Crime is a complex problem. And listening to a lot of the efforts and progress, improvements that you all have made is impressive, and it makes me happy to be a Portsmouth resident. One of the things that I think is slightly concerning for me to hear is the way that the partnership with our major retailers as they experience increases in crime and shoplifting. As a resident of the city, I value the police department doing work to reduce crime, but I don't want us to get to this place where me as a mom of a 1-year-old and a 2-year-old going to Walmart to get formula, and I spend 45 minutes looking for an employee to unlock that. That is a deterrent to bringing good people into our city when our Kroger is bare in the front because of the shoplifting, rather than our major retailers looking into evidence-based practices that do exist for them to deter shoplifting, such as having appropriate staffing and to have people out to see what's happening in their aisles. And there's a lot of research out there on this. This is a national trend, so we're not isolated in experiencing that. My question is, when you're having these conversations with these major retailers, are you having conversations about other ways that they can deter shoplifting rather than kind of creating these really prison system of, of a shopping experience? Because that's a really big deterrent for our family in choosing to stay in Portsmouth when we know that every time we go to shop somewhere, it's really difficult. It's not a convenient experience. And I think that would deter a lot of other shops from coming into the city as well. So my question is, are you having those conversations when meeting with these retailers about ways that they can still make it an open process for residents to conveniently shop, about staffing and adopting some of these national best practices that are, or even emerging practices that exist for how they can deter shoplifting, but not kind of ruining the city experience for residents? Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. So yes, we try to partner very much with our business community. As a matter of fact, just recently sat in on a meeting with the Old Town Business Association and looking to have some additional dialogue with our Chamber of Commerce locally here. It is a difficult conversation because, again, they're in it to make money. And so when we talk about best practices of hiring more staff, again, in case you didn't know, we're hiring. There are people out here that don't want to work. Every person, there is not many places that there are not opportunities for right now. And so I don't know how we force people for that, because I'm sure that anyone in this room right now could go to Kroger or Walmart and get a job just like that, just without much of an issue, unless you have some challenges in your background that stop you. And so I think they're at a point where, especially, and I'll just talk to you about the ABC conversation. Our initial conversation with them, and this was a regional conversation where we had the officials from Richmond come down, because Hampton Roads was representing 22% of all of the larcenies within the state. And so, we had police chiefs literally saying, "You are killing my numbers, right? We need you to do something." And what we initially got was, we're not going to do anything because we don't want to affect the customer experience. I got it, understood. However, at what point in time does there become we need the legislators to assist us in making sure that there's accountability when a person does get caught for shoplifting, and that the punishment, and again, I'm not saying locking folks up. I'm saying that there was a time where on a Saturday, the Portsmouth Police Department would have individuals who were on misdemeanors out cleaning the community up. What happened to it? it's gone. There are many other opportunities for us to hold people accountable, and until we get back to that, we're going to continue to see this. Right now, I know that my Food Lion is experiencing issues with the young people leaving school and blitzing the store.
Can you define blitzing?
Basically, they're going in as a group. They're going in as a group of 10 to 20, and they basically spread out, and there's not enough people in there. It's what you see in some of our major cities. They're not smashing and grabbing things, but they're going in and what are you going to do? You know, because here's the optics of it, and this is why the community is important. Because what happens is one of my officers responds, right, to address a kid who just stole out of the store and gets into a use of force. And what I hear from the community is he just stole a $5 bag of chips. He shouldn't have got, all of that's not necessary. This is what I hear. I need that same dialogue from the community to say, hey, we support the police department in their actions for what took place. Obviously, my officers are going to act professionally. They're going to do their job the way they're trained to do. We're going to use the minimal amount of force necessary to effect an arrest, and they're going to be courteous when they do it. But outside of that, we still got a job to do, and we need folks to support us in that. You know, the same conversation about vehicle pursuits. And Mr. Fink isn't here tonight, I don't think. But Mr. Fink will come in and say, hey, why aren't you chasing it? Sir, we just had an $11 million lawsuit. Is it worth me putting the officers' lives or one of your family's lives to chase a car for a minor infraction? I can't answer that. I can tell you today we have to have conversations about it. I can also tell you, but the optics of it is what these folks riding up and down the street with no helmets on, popping wheelies down High Street, every single time it makes me angry. But what did we do to address it in a manner? I wish we could not run them down, but I wish we could do something to address it in the appropriate manner. But again, what happens if we chase them, and because we're chasing them, they make a wrong turn, and now they fall and they get injured. Now all of a sudden the police cause this issue. These are the things that keep me up at night, that's going to keep Mr. Carter up at night. These are the choices that we have to make in order to police this city and most cities around that look like these. These are trying times for us, and trust me, we don't take these situations lightly, but I need you to understand the things that go on with that. But I do have conversations with them. It is just a difficult time right now. Anybody else? Take one more, Ms. Anderson.
Chief, thank you. I was wondering, at any time, do we have officers that will do stakeouts?
Stakeouts? Yeah. So I won't get into investigative practices, right? I will tell you that we spend a lot of time covert. We got folks that don't look like police. We got cars that don't look like police cars. And we spend quite a bit of time doing those things. But I also will tell you, calls for service are our primary responsibility, okay? And so when you're down in staffing, you don't see it so much in your uniformed officers, because I'm having to say, hey, you can't, I'm gonna have to shrink my traffic unit down, which now means that person that calls for a traffic complaint, because I have to answer the 911 call. All right, that's what people see. That's what, that's the first level. 911 dispatch and our response is the first level of government of what people see. All right, so that's why it was so important for us to update our E911 service to where we are right now. And thankfully it's there. Now we have to really push, and again, I need you to push to get folks to come here. We need you to get the things that you say, and I'm not telling you not to be upset when things don't go right. Let's just do it in an appropriate manner. All right? Call me, call the city manager. We'll make sure we get it taken care of. But when you go on these rants on social media. None of my folks want to see that. Who wants to come and be the focal point of somebody's dissent every time something goes wrong? You know, nobody. So we need to really push for that. But yes, we spend quite a bit of time doing covert actions to address not only, in particular, our narcotics issues, our gangs and group issues. We try a lot of different things to address our situation. Yes, ma'am. All right. Real quick, so if you haven't seen him, Mr. Carter, our new city manager is here. Sir, would you like to say anything?
No, really just glad to be here. Glad to be here to support Chief Jenkins and the things that his team is doing. You know, we got some issues in Portsmouth, but so does everybody else. That doesn't make us better or worse. That just means we have to get together and work on those things. So let's work together to support this man in the things that he's trying to get done. Thank you for your time.
All right. Thank y'all for coming. I appreciate it. And look for some additional information as we continue to press forward. Thank y'all.